Stage 4 is a 165-kilometre ride through the Yorkshire countryside, starting from Rother Valley Country Park in Rotherham. It's a stage with 3 hotspot sprints and a sting in the tail, with the Category 1 climb of the Cow and Calf, just 20 kilometres from the finish, as well as a nasty uphill finale in the streets of Bradford. For the spectators along the route, there's the backdrop of the rolling Yorkshire countryside. Along the way, the race passes one of England's great country houses, Harewood, home to the Queen's cousin Earl Harewood and Yorkshire's most visited historic house. The finish is in Lister Park, the site of Cartwright House, one of Bradford's finest museums. So after the prologue and 3 of the 6 stages, Nikolai Trusov leads the race here in Yorkshire. But how long can he hold on to the race leader's yellow jersey?
I don't think it's fully decided yet. The Cow and Calf today, the latter part of the stages, it's quite hilly. I think the GC contenders are all going to sit back until then. I think an early break's going to go. But yeah, it's all going to be decided in that latter part of today's stage.
It's not decided yet. I think it's Chalingi, Pitrojakos or me. It's one of us, but it's not decided yet.
The next 2 days is going to be definitely the decider, yeah.
Well, these are the riders coming to sign on, ready for the start of Stage 4. It starts in Rother Park in Rotherham. It is always a tradition, of course, that the riders sign on the starting sheet so that the referees know exactly how many have taken the start. Well, that was a shot of young Ben Swift, who won his first ever race as a schoolboy here. Well, let me tell you that this stage is dedicated to the memory of Jane Tomlinson, who of course sadly died recently with a long fight against cancer, and her husband Mike and son Stephen are riding on the tandem here along with family and close friends for the first mile. And a big crowd of course have turned out to see the riders off, and it's a lovely scene here in Rother Valley Park on the outskirts of Rotherham. Tough stage ahead for the competitors to Bradford, 103 miles and 92 riders have taken the start. And these are the Tinkoff boys at the front. That looks a little bit like Comesso to me.
Yeah, Comesso here seems to be still enjoying himself in the twilight years of his career.
Twice an Italian champion, twice a winner of a stage in the Tour de France, the tough Italian. Well, these are the early stages. And there's lots and lots of attacking high speed, and it's going to be a quick stage this. Lots of riders anxious to try and get down the road. 28 riders are still within 55 seconds of the yellow jersey. So slightest mistake by the rider in charge of the event and it could all change. Trusov of the Tinkoff team then still in the lead, sweeping down this long descent, and the field beginning to thin out. When they go into one single line, it's always a telltale sign that the pressure is on. Now then, 3 riders beginning to go clear here. This is Limestone Hill, the first climb today, 3rd category affair, so it's 4 to the first rider over. That was Paul Manning, just ahead of Roger Hammond. So Manning is still picking up good points. There's Ben Swift. Ben Swift then rises to the challenge and picks up 1 point to add to his tally. He's going to keep a grip on that polka dot jersey, and the rest of the field just coming over now behind.
Hammond and Manning both away yesterday and today again, so they seem to be enjoying themselves this week.
Glorious shot of the countryside ahead, and the leading group really settling down to the job in hand now, and that's a handy sized group. The peloton are still chasing, but it's beginning to increase, and it's getting towards the half-minute mark for those riders that have given the main field a slip.
On these roads here, Hugh, it's going to be very difficult for this bunch now to bring this group back. You know, it's a very big group. They're working very strongly.
Now, hang on, what's happening here? All of a sudden, they're being told to stop, and look at the gesticulations from the riders. That is the commissaire president out of the roof of the car. Now, there's something happening here. The cars are all at the front of the field, and the race is grinding to a halt. The riders cannot understand it. They're clearly unhappy. They're thinking, we've worked hard to establish this slender advantage, and now we're not allowed to race. They can't quite understand what is happening. But what I can tell you is that as the riders reached the roads of North Yorkshire, the race actually went into what is known as neutralised conditions, and the reason was the necessary precautions were not in place for flat-out competitive racing. So for safety reasons, the riders and backup vehicles progressed as a pack behind a safety car and until normality was resumed near Tadcaster. It was an opportunity for them to, I don't know, eat on the hoof, have a bit of a chat.
A little bit of lunch, yeah. I mean, some of the riders here will be very thankful for the break, but there'll be a few in there who won't be happy at all.
I think Jill's been finding out more about the eating habits of the riders.
Refuelling out on the road is absolutely vital for the cyclists, and this is the musette, a little bag of goodies that's handed over in the feed zone, full of all sorts of things, high calorie, including a little bit of brioche. Very tasty.
It's important for any elite athlete to eat during any endurance event, and for a cyclist even more so on a stage race, because of the cumulative fatigue over 3 or 4 days of racing takes its toll. And little often is the key phrase that we tend to use with athletes.
Every night after the race is finished, we start making the food up for the next day. So we wash all the bottles that have been used the day before, clean them out, sterilise them, put the energy powder in, add the water, put them into the cool box, so they're all ready for the next day. Then we start on the food, bite-sized pieces, so the rider can just take one bite at a time. We have gels, which are an instant energy source, bits of cake and sweet things, some little fruit pastels wrapped up, and then it all goes into the car that night, ready for the race in the morning.
Ja. It will start again with the same gap. Same time. Tout est schéma. Ja, tout est schéma. Le même. Tout est schéma. Okay, guys. We start to break away. Yeah.
Hi, Mum.
I have a front flat tire. I'm stuck in Leeds.
Well, that was rather humorous, wasn't it? But now the race is being set up to restart. 1 or 2 actually jumping away before the Commissaire President allows them to. But 65-mile point here. They were neutralised for around about 25 miles, and at this point the front group was set off with the 30-second advantage that they had established before the neutralised section. So this is the countdown before the main peloton is allowed to continue. Some of them trying to get an early start, and 1 or 2 people clearly unhappy about that, but I think trying to get the whole thing reorganised is very difficult. Oh, goodness me. He got run over. Let's have a look at his face here. Is he happy? I don't think so.
That'll be a no.
Now then, this is the leading group once again, setting about the job of trying to get to the finish in Bradford first.
These guys are really going to have to concentrate now and get themselves back into the position that they were before the untimely stop.
Now then, we're approaching the sprint. And this is the sprint at Otley, which is near the foot of the Cow and Calf climb. And Roy Ackers, there he is in the skilled Shimano jersey. He's trying to get on terms with the rider that he's led out. And it looks like the Konica riders up there involved as well. But Roy Ackers is trying to claw back more points in the hotspot sprint competition. Oh, it was very close, that one, wasn't it? I think it was Roy Ackers that got it. Let's take a look. Yes, Van Geerden of the Konica team was second, and Fayou was third. He's a good sprinter, I tell you, this young Frenchman. Got a silver medal in the World Under-23 Road Championships last year, and he rode actually 8 stages of the Tour de France this year, Fayou, with a lot of top 10 places. This is the main field, continuing the chase. Yellow jerseys there. Trusov, he can't be happy with this situation.
No, he'll definitely want that back.
Now then, we're on to the Cow and Calf, and this is a really, really long climb. It is a first cat, so 10 points available at the top. And we've got some riders from Spain in this group here, Palomares and David Blanco, and I wouldn't be surprised if these two don't come to the head of affairs to start to turn the screw, because they realise they've got a good advantage, and this can certainly pay off. The peloton are about 50 seconds behind at this stage. An attack coming on the right here. This is one of the Fuerteventura Canarias riders. Here he goes. Just as I said, they love these climbs, the Spanish riders, and you can see just how much it ramps up. It is a really hard, tough, demanding climb.
He went right at the bottom of the climb there, Hugh, so not allowing anyone to get into their rhythm on the climb. He attacks them straight away, and hopefully he's going to bring 1 or 2 riders with him. Everyone seems to be chasing well, but this is quite a long climb.
50 seconds behind the peloton, but this is where the damage is being done at the front, and looks like another Fuerteventura Canarias rider going up as well. So they are actually working to a game plan, and this is dangerous. This is where the yellow jersey of Trusov in that second group could pay the price and lose ground. It's just like it happened to Taunton when the T-Mobile squad paid for it. Now then, 3 riders starting to go clear. David Blanco, looks like Palomares, and the other one actually might be Stuber of the Chocolate Jack squad. But hugging the left-hand side of the curb, contrasting styles, 2 at the front, find they can pedal their way up in the saddle. And then the other member of the trio is out of the saddle. In fact, the 3rd member of that group there is from the Duja Tavira team. And then it's the Chocolate Jack rider trying to come across. There he is. That's Stuber. Stuber trying to come up to join them. This could be the key point, because this is a perfect platform to launch a winning move for victory. Cow and Calf coming at 88 miles, and the distance of the stage 103. So when they get to the summit, they've got about 15 miles to go with a good descent. So that's the way to capitalise on the move. Now then, let's have a look what's happening behind. Well, you can see it's fragmenting, isn't it? Riders grovelling to stay in the wheel.
Looks like the 2 Fuerteventura riders were indeed working together. The other guy there's just dropped back now. He's basically laid himself on the sword for his teammate.
But it is the rider going well at the front here from the Duja Tavira squad, and that's David Blanco. And it looks like Blanco's the man, in fact, pulling away from the rest, and you can see from that shot just how steep this climb is. Well, Blanco is a very handy bike rider, former winner of the Tour of Portugal, and he's got about 100 metres here over his nearest challengers. A little too early, I would say, to go alone, to stay clear, but it's doing the damage behind, and you may find that those that are trailing will link up. Out of the saddle all of the way, and that plays havoc with the back.
He's absolutely going to be screaming here, his entire body, you know, after the day that they've had and the previous days, to then hit a climb like this. He's going to be in some pain.
Well, Palomares was first to the summit of Porlock, and he also is right up at the front here, so we've got a pretty established climber. But it's Blanco at the moment that's danced his way clear of the others. Now then, what are the developments going to be? This is the critical point of this stage, stage 4 to Bradford. And remember, there's time bonuses on the line of 10, 6 and 4. And if Blanco and Palomares were to stay clear all the way, then the yellow jersey could be taken by one of those 2. Here is the summit, and just look at the size of the crowd. They love their racing in Yorkshire. They've produced some fantastic champions in the past. So Blanco, he's over first. He gets the 10 points. These are the second 2, Palomares and Tom Stuber of the Chocolate Jack team. Now they need to get together and start to work.
Look at the difference in technique. These 2 guys are really, really struggling, whereas Blanco was just rock solid on his bike. He's really pumping the form out now.
Looks like Manuel Loret at the front of the residue of the group. But really, it's all about the riders that have gone clear. Now, there's the result confirmed. It was Blanco for 10, Palomares coming up for the 8. And I think Ben Swift's lead is okay. He's still going to remain in the polka dot jersey. Palomares will have done himself some good today, but he's still going to be shy of Ben Swift's 32. Now then, down the descent. And they aren't too keen at the moment to get the work done. Palomares comes through, then tucking into the wheel is the rider from the Duja team, Blanco. This is the remnants of the main peloton, and right at the back, finding it hard going, is Christian House of the Navigators team. Good British rider, Christian House. Well, there we are, Bradford. Welcome to the Tour of Britain. Bradford's actually twinned with Roubaix, and that, of course, is the famous finishing point for the Paris-Roubaix over all the cobbles. Now then, we're into the streets of Bradford. It finishes actually in Lister Park, and these are the three leaders now: Palomares, Stuber and Blanco. So they're just about to swing into Lister Park, and that looked like Palomares gesticulating to Stuber at the back for Chocolate Jack, as much as to say, come on, let's have... Oh, what's happened here? Oh, they've got the wrong way. They've actually turned right, and they've got to go through the arch into the park. Well, they've put that right pretty quickly, and it hasn't cost them anything. They're still all together. Right, 1,000 metres to go to the finish. Now, I've been looking at the differences between these riders, and the situation here is that Palomares and Blanco are split on the overall classification by 5 seconds. So if Palomares was to take the stage victory and Blanco was third, it would mean Palomares gets a 10-second bonus, Blanco would get 4, and that means the 6-second difference would give the yellow jersey to Palomares by 1 second. Now then, is Stuber going to spoil the party, the rider from the Chocolate Jack team? I'm sure they both know how critical this is, the two Spanish riders, but of course that could all change. We're waiting to see here just what Stuber is going to do, the 26-year-old Belgian. He's in the white and red strip, and at the moment he's just tucked in at the back. This is a critical sprint. If the yellow jersey changes, and it will change because Trusov is behind, this will be the third time the yellow jersey has changed in this year's Tour of Britain. Swinging right now, lining up for the finish. It's slightly uphill, so it's a hard pull to the line. Stuber's in second place, but Palomares is leading. Blanco is third, and that looks how it's going to finish from here. Coming up to the line, it's looking like Palomares will take it, and that'll be the sweetest victory of his career. Palomares takes it, Stuber second, and Blanco coming in third. And those 10 seconds are going to be very, very valuable indeed. And the bunch sprint was won by Romain Feyou, the Frenchman, on the Agritabol team, and that will be useful, a useful finishing position for him. Here comes the rest of the bunch sprinting it out. It's very, very close indeed, but it looks like Cavendish just beating Swift to the line at the end of another very tough stage. They'll be pleased to see the line as they freewheel over, and lots of lost contact as well. But here it is again. He knows how important that is. Palomares wins the stage, and that will give him the yellow jersey.
So the stage goes to Adrian Palomares ahead of his breakaway companions Blanco and Stuber, with Agritubal's Romain Feyou winning the sprint at the head of the peloton. The overnight race leader, Nikolai Trusov, was 30th, a minute behind Palomares. In the general classification, Palomares and David Blanco leapfrog Luke Roberts and Pete Royackers, while Britain's Daniel Lloyd slips out of the top 8.
Well, I'm very happy because this Tour of Britain was a very important objective for the Team Ventura Canaris, and at least we've already won one stage. I'm currently the leader. Let's see how long for.
The green jersey is now firmly in the grip of French youngster Romain Feyou, who remains hungry for more glory in the coming stages.
I know that I'm usually fit in September, and I was aiming to win, but today someone was stronger in the hills. So now it's a compromise, but never mind. Now I'll try to win a stage tomorrow. The last day's sprint finish might be more difficult.